Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I am here today with a little friend. So cozy. This is actually the first time I'm using the wrap too, so I'm loving this right now. And before anyone says anything about his neck, he has both of his arms underneath his neck, so he's like this. So he's good, even though I know it looks like his head is way off to the side. It's not, he's comfy. So today I wanted to share my birth story with y'all. And you look up on YouTube and there's positive birth story, my natural positive birth story, my traumatic birth story. There's all the different things. But I kind of just wanted to say that this is more of a realistic birth story. And honestly, it can be in the positive category too. But I wanted to start with saying that he was always a little bit smaller in womb. And around 32 weeks, the doctor started to notice that he wasn't growing as fast as he wanted him to. And so it was something that we were starting to watch and see, is he growing? Is he happy inside? How is he doing in there? And at my 34-week checkup, my doctor was like, look, this baby's gonna come early and he is smaller than I want him to, and it might be something where it would be better for him to be out than in, so he can grow out here with you, because it looks like he's not so happy in the womb. So at that appointment, I ended up actually getting a steroid shot, and then I went back the next day for another one to help develop his lungs. And that was also when my doctor kind of diagnosed me with IUGR, which is in uterine growth restriction, which means that the placenta probably isn't working as well as it needs to. Baby isn't getting everything that it needs to be able to grow. And so we did the steroid shots to help his lungs develop a little bit faster, because he knew that he would be coming really soon. So at that point, the doctor had me going in 2 times a week to check on him, see how he was doing, seeing if he was happy in his environment, and if we needed to do anything faster than he was expecting. So at 35 weeks and a couple days, I was in there for another appointment, and the doctor was like, hey, we did these steroid shots and he's happy in there, but he's still not growing. He's not measuring the way he needs to be. So we are going to induce you. That was Monday, August 7th or so, and I was being induced the 14th. So I had a week to get the house all cleaned up, get prepped. That's when I filmed my what's in my bag video, that if you would like to watch that, it is on my channel. That is also when I filmed my postpartum care video of setting everything up and setting the bedside nursery up, and that is also on my channel right now. Needless to say, it was a super busy week leading up to baby. And I was doing that, I was cleaning the house, I was trying to film these videos that I thought I had like 4 more weeks to film. And I also had my last baby shower, which was awesome and so sweet. It was mostly just family and a couple of very sweet close friends, and it was such a sweet time. So come Monday, that's when the induction was. So we went in to the hospital Monday night at 10 p.m., which is so late, but that's just how they do things. But when they finally took me back, they had me get dressed in my gown, get in the bed, and they asked me a whole series of questions regarding the pregnancy, how far along I was, how he was doing, if there was anything they needed to be worried about, allergies, all things like that. And then I got set up with an IV. So this is where it started to get a little bit like, whoa, this is crazy, this is happening. I had envisioned hopefully having a natural birth, and I was not set on that. I would like to try a natural birth, but if I stall out at anywhere and I've been in labor for hours, I will get an epidural. And if things go wrong and baby's not doing so great, emergency C-section. And baby's not doing so great, yeah, oh my gosh. And baby's not doing so great, oh my goodness. If baby's not doing so great, emergency C-section is fine. So I really just wanted to try natural, see how that went, and then if it didn't work out, however it went, it happened. Lord's will, he'll come healthy, good to go. So I was hoping, to be able to be bouncing on a birth ball. I had done all these exercises and learned all these things that I could do to help myself during the labor process. And let me just say right now that that ended up not happening, but that's okay. Again, whatever happened, whatever needed to happen to get baby here safely, that's what needed to happen. They had actually taken me, my mom and my husband were there with me, and they took me without them. So at first I was very nervous. There's just a lot going on, and my husband and my mom weren't there, and I was like, I need my support people, but they ended up coming in a few minutes and it was fine. Anyway, so I get in the bed, I get all IV'd up, and the nurse comes in and goes, all right, well, we're gonna start this. So what they did is they gave me 1/4 of this little pill that was supposed to help my body start labor kind of, well, not naturally, but start sending signals to my body like, hey, let's start labor. So I started at like 1/2 centimeter, 0% effaced. And so we took the pill, we tried to go to sleep. I did not sleep at all. And there was also a huge storm going on outside, and I'm not too keen on storms. And literally there was a bunch of windows right in front of me. So I just got a front row seat that I couldn't get away from of this huge storm. But my mom stayed up with me for a bit, and she just kind of sat on the couch and just would look at me, and every once in a while be like, good, okay. Which is so sweet of her. And my husband got some shut-eye, which is good because I needed him for the next day. So I was good with him sleeping. So the plan was take that pill, we'll come back at 4 o'clock in the morning, check you, see how you're doing. So 4 o'clock in the morning rolls around, they come, they check me. I am now 3 centimeters and about, I can't remember if at this point I was already 70% effaced or if I was 20% effaced. I think I might have been 20. All that happened by itself in about 6 hours. I was not feeling any pain. I had no idea it had been happening. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. Everything's going so smoothly. Let's keep going. So we keep going. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, my doctor comes in, and at that point I was 4 centimeters and 70% effaced. And my doctor broke my water, and he's like, all right, you're moving along so smoothly. I'm so excited. We'll get your water broke, and I will see you in a little bit, and we will have this baby. Awesome, perfect. Well, at that point also, they had started me on Pitocin, which I can't lie, I was super nervous about. I had multiple friends and sister-in-laws have really bad reactions to Pitocin, hemorrhaging and different things like that. And so I was so afraid of the Pitocin. I did not want it. But that's what we had to do to get things progressing. And so they started me on Pitocin, and I'm not saying that they forced this on me. I knew that it needed to happen. I just mentally had to be okay, whatever is happening, the Lord is with me. He is helping me through this. His will be done. So I just needed to trust him, trust the doctors, so we could progress in getting baby Charlie out. So at that point, I was extremely hungry, and you technically can't eat once you've been induced and you're on IVs and Pitocin and things like that. But my doctor is okay with a liquid diet. So you best believe I drank all the soups and ate all the Jellos and had all the apple juices and popsicles because this girl was hungry and hadn't eaten since about 9 p.m. the day before. So the day moves along, I'm on IVs, Pitocin, and we're waiting. I start having contractions. They're coming pretty fast and pretty hard. So we're already at every 3 minutes. They're about a minute long. They're really intense, and I'm like, oh my gosh, amazing. My body's doing so great. We're progressing so fast. I bet you next time they come in, I'm gonna be like a 5 or a 6, and we're just gonna get this baby out before noon. Well, they come and check. I'm still the same, 4 centimeters, 70% effaced. And at that point, the contractions were pretty strong. I was pretty uncomfortable, and I was like, oh my goodness. It has been, I think they had waited 8, 9, 10. I think they had waited till about noon to check me again, and I was still the same. So at that point, I made the decision to get an epidural, and that was also something I was very afraid of. I was afraid of the needle. I don't love needles. They can never find my veins. I had a bruise on my wrist for 3 weeks after having him because she burst a vein there, and then they had to go through my arm over here, which I still have, like, it looks like a little freckle, but now it's a scar literally from the IV that I had, just because my skin and veins and all that don't work so great when it comes to things like that. So I ended up getting the epidural, and the guy that came and did it was so kind. And this is another thing, the nurses and the doctors, everyone was so incredibly kind the whole day and through every process. Even when I was thinking about getting the epidural, I actually asked the nurse to come in and just asked her, like, how does it work? How do things go? How is the procedure? And she was so kind in explaining everything to me as I sat there bawling my eyes out, because it had already been a really long day and I had no idea how it was going to keep going. But I ended up getting the epidural, and it did help a bit. It calmed things down, but after like an hour or two, really, it kind of stopped working. And so I had told the nurse, and she was like, all right, let's get him back in here. We'll get more and we'll see how that goes. But at the same time, she would be texting my doctor, because he didn't stay at the hospital. He has his own practice. So she would be texting my doctor, hey, she's still at 4 centimeters. We haven't progressed. What would you like to do? And so every time I would say, hey, the epidural's not really working. Can we up it a little bit? There were other things happening where she's like, okay, we have to up your Pitocin. Okay, well, now we need to use the peanut ball, which is so big and wildly uncomfortable. But they kept flipping me to side with my leg up on the peanut ball and doing different things to help baby move down and progress. So roll around, it's 6 p.m., still 4 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced. Nothing has changed besides the epidural still not working as well as it should have been. And I understand you're supposed to feel pressure and different things like that, but I was still pretty much feeling everything. Long story short, just kind of the same exact things going on. At around 9-10 p.m., all of a sudden I got these like cold sweats and I started shaking uncontrollably. And TMI, if like bodily things freak you out, you might want to skip ahead or just plug your ears. But I ended up throwing up. And that all of those things are signs of transition when you go from early labor to active labor, where you go from like a 4 or 5 centimeter to like a 7-8. And so all that happened, and I look at my mom and I go, oh my gosh, does that mean I just transitioned? Because literally it had just been the same, 4 centimeters for hours and hours and hours. I was stalled out there, epidural not working, and pain but bearable. But all of a sudden that happened, and I just stared at her and I was like, isn't that a transition? Like, isn't that transitioning? And she's like, I think it might be. And I was like, call the nurse in here. Let's see if anything has happened. And so she checked me, and at that point I was then 8 centimeters dilated, but still 70% effaced. So they called my doctor, and he came and he checked me, and he was like, yep, 8 centimeters, 70% effaced. Your baby's gonna be here probably within, this same day. So he's gonna be born August 15th. It's 10 p.m. He had said that August 15th. He goes away. Well, then contractions start going crazy. And honestly, from this point on, I really don't remember much than just laying there in pain and knowing that my husband was here holding my hand and my mom was behind me kind of putting pressure on my back as I was laying on my side in the bed. And I thought this was like maybe a 20-minute to hour like long stretch. Apparently this went on for about 3 hours, almost 3.5. Finally, at around midnight, I did hear the nurse come in, and she asked my husband, doesn't she have an epidural? And my husband was like, yeah. And she goes, she should not be in this much pain. She has an epidural. We need to get this fixed. So like I had been asking for a while, but like I said, things were just weirdly progressing in other ways, and other things kept happening that we never got that fixed. So the epidural guy comes back, And instead of giving me more of a dose through the bag, because I was already on my second bag of the epidural, he just flushed it straight through my back. And he's like, all right, it's gonna feel like a cold waterfall is going down your bag. And he's like, but don't worry, nothing wet is on you. And it was the weirdest sensation. But then at that point, that like knocked me out. It numbed everything, and I actually ended up falling asleep for about 30 to 40 minutes. So that was actually kind of nice because it gave like a very nice relief after 3 hours of some crazy contractions, because when you are on Pitocin, it makes contractions a lot worse. So then the nurse walks in a little bit later. I think it's about, I don't know, 12:20, 12:30 in the morning now. So the 16th, not the 15th. And she asked, you know, how are you feeling? Do you feel any pressure down there? Anything like that? And I was like, I don't really know. I don't think so. She goes, you don't think you feel any pressure? And I was like, honestly, I don't think I feel anything at all. And at that point, again, like I said, they kept flipping me back and forth between positions to help baby move down. And she was like, okay, well, I'm probably gonna flip you to your other side again, see if we can continue helping him move down. So she was about to flip me again, and she's like, you know what? Let me just check you one more time really quick and see how you're doing. So she goes and she checks, and she just stops and looks up at me and goes, don't move, don't laugh, don't sneeze, don't anything. If you do, this baby will fall out of you. And I was like, oh, okay. So then all of a sudden things were moving very quickly, and she calls the doctor. She's on the phone and she's already prepping everything. Hey, you need to come down here. This baby is about to fall out of her. You know, we need to get this going right now. And so the doctor comes running in, and he's trying to help her get things ready. And she's like, no, I will do this. You need to get dressed. We need to catch this baby. And so they had me pushing. I felt nothing because of the epidural, so I had no idea if I was pushing or not. I was just doing what they told me to do. Obviously it worked. But 3 contractions later at 12:41 a.m., this little man made his way into the world. So he was finally born, and he was 5 pounds 4 ounces, which the doctor had said he'd probably be between 4 and 5 pounds. Hello. All right. The doctor leaves after he congratulates us, and my mom left too. My dad came and picked her up, and then that first like full hour, it was just me, my baby, and my husband just hanging out in the room together. And it was quiet, and no one was in there, no one came in. And I thought that was so sweet and just considerate to like a new family, because I know there's a lot of hospitals that want to take them right away, they want to bathe them right away, they want to do all these things, and they just left us in there by ourselves. The nurse did walk in once and was like, girl, you want a celebratory cocktail? And I was like, excuse me? And she was like, it's Sprite with some mango and different things. And I was like, yes, thank you. So I got a fun little drink of Sprite, and I can't remember, it was like Sprite with some fruity flavors in it, and it was great. It was a nice little treat after pushing him out. But then they came and they're like, all right, we're gonna take baby and he'll be to you in about an hour. You know, by the time we get you situated and get you in your room, he should be back to you right about then too. So perfect, awesome. They wheel us to our room that we're gonna be staying in for the next day or two, and we're getting all situated, and the night nurse comes in and she's just checking my vitals, all those different things. She's like, all right, y'all get some shut-eye. Baby will probably be here soon. So she comes in about 30 minutes later, and she's like, hey, actually, they need to do some extra blood work on baby because he was early, and they want to make sure his lungs are okay. So they're actually going to keep him till about 5 a.m. And at this point it's about 2 a.m. They're gonna keep him till 5 a.m., do that blood work, and then go from there. Okay, that was so sad. I just started crying, and I was like, my little buddy that I've had with me and just, you know, inside of me, stuck with me for 9 months. Now he's gone, and I feel empty, and now I'm supposed to sleep, and he's somewhere else in the hospital. My heart really goes out to all the NICU moms. I am right there with you. Because the NICU doctor ended up coming in about an hour later and telling us, hey, he's gonna have to stay in the NICU for a little bit, monitoring his lungs and his heart since he was born earlier, just to make sure that everything is okay. So come the next few days, he was in the NICU, and we would go down multiple times a day. We went down about every 2 hours, every 2-3 hours, because that's when they were feeding him. And so I would pump in the room, and I was pumping like I was feeding him, so pumping every 2 hours, trying to get the colostrum and my milk to come in, and whatever colostrum that I got, we were able to put in a fridge, and then every time we went down to the NICU, they would use that, and whatever more milliliters they needed, they would substitute that with formula, and I got to feed him that way for the first few days of his life. It was pretty hard walking into the NICU that very first time. You know, he's on oxygen, he has a little tube going down his mouth, he has IVs, he has all these wires on his chest and on his foot. I know that they're doing what's best for baby and working really hard to keep him healthy and monitoring him, and that's why he had all those wires. You know, it's like they're watching his blood oxygen and his heartbeat and his breathing and all these different things, and it looks scary to us, but they know what they're doing. And I was so thankful for the girls in the NICU. They were so incredibly kind to us and answering all our questions, and they would help get all the wires, you know, situated so we could hold him and do skin to skin time with him even in the NICU. So he spent about 3.5 to 4 days in the NICU. He graduated with flying colors. At this point, we went to the hospital and induced at 10 p.m. on Monday night. Hello. And we were not discharged until Saturday at 4 p.m. So that was a very long, very stressful week, and we just felt complete peace when we finally got to come home and have him home. And you know, those first few days are kind of scary and I'm gonna do a full like postpartum first few weeks video coming up soon, so I'll talk about all that there, because this is probably a long video in and of itself. But I just wanted to share my birth story with y'all. You know, what is that, 28.5, almost 29 hours later of labor. But again, it was positive, even though lots of things happened, and you know, I left out details of other bodily functions that happened while being in pain. But I just wanted to share my experience, because one thing, I was so extremely nervous about giving birth because it's all new. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how your body's going to react. And so I am just so thankful that it went the way that it went. I did look at my husband at one point and say, one and done. Okay, one and done, which we probably will have more, because you know, us women, we get cloudy, foggy, and then we do it again and we're like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this again, you know? We are just so happy that he is here. He is almost a whole month old, which is so crazy. His due date was just a few days ago, which is also wild that we already got to have him for about 3.5 weeks during it, you know, when we probably wouldn't have had him yet. Well, this little one is stirring, so I should probably finish up, but thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below, and I hope this just kind of, I don't know, everyone's experience is going to be different. Your experience is going to be different too, and I just wanted to share mine because yes, it was long, yes, I was stuck in different spots and different things like that, but overall it was a positive experience and he got here healthy, so that's all that matters. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and again, leave comments if there's any specific questions that you have. I can do, you know, a pregnancy, labor, postpartum Q&A if you want, and just let me know. All right, friends, thank you for watching. Give this video a like and subscribe. Bye.